Hey there, hey there, apprentices. Welcome to Trading Paperbacks. Molly, are you there? I can't hear you if you're talking.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute my microphone. We're your hosts. I'm Molly Muldoon.
And I'm Kel McDonald.
Trading Paperbacks is a bi-weekly Twitch show and podcast where we read and discuss different book series. It's live every other week. The following week, it'll be posted on YouTube and eventually on a podcast. We'll figure that out later. How it works is we both pick a series our co-host hasn't read, and we take turns discussing them book by book. So, spoiler warning, we will be spoiling the book we discuss each episode.
I picked the Rivers of London series, so this week we are talking about Whispers Underground by Ben Aaronovitch, which is the third book in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one where, while I remember what the mystery is, I always forget who the actual culprit is.
Fair enough. Also,
Somali.
When you look at the cover, it looks like it's 2 words, right? Whispers Underground. It's 3 words. It's Whispers Underground, which I only found out because it's very hard to search for in a library database. Because it's 3 words, not 2. It's very frustrating. I don't know why that's my main thing that I came away with for this.
I mean, it's because you had trouble finding the book.
It's because I had trouble finding the book. It's very frustrating. I don't know whose fault. Is it the cover's fault? I don't know.
I think it's also a kerning issue. Lettering is very important.
It's true.
Because that definitely doesn't look like there's a space on the cover.
Right? It doesn't. And it kind of does on the inside cover. I'll hold it up to the... Like, it does look like 2 different words in the inside cover, but that's not what you see. And also, underground, the underground in London. Come on, people. Come on, people. I get you're going for a funny thing, but it made it harder to find the book. Anyway, little rant over there. So this is book 3.
Yep.
Our main updates as we start the books are that Leslie, our lovely, lovely friend who I adore and is maybe my favorite character, has now become another apprentice of Nightingale. So she and Peter are kind of partners, both learning, both kind of taking, like, both good at different things, which I like. Like,
yeah, I have always liked that about their dynamic. Like, and they like flat out say it in the first book that she's the better cop, but he's like the curiouser person.
Yeah. He notices the weirder details.
He is a bad attention span.
Yes. But in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way for magic.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. It's really nice that it opens with her hanging out. They're working together. I love that. What is it? It starts with them. They're investigating.
It starts with Abigail as a ghost, and Abigail's my favorite.
I know. I forgot all about the fact that she's in that very first chapter. Abigail has a ghost. She found a ghost in the train tunnels, so they go to check it out. And it is just like a guy reliving the last 2 seconds of his life over and over again, which sounds so sad.
Yeah.
Just constantly trying to graffiti a train tunnel and then get hit by a train over and over again for all eternity. Like, oh, sucks to be that guy.
Yeah.
But that kind of introduces that the topic of this book is going to be like things happening underground.
In this, the subway kind of specifically, for the most part.
See, but here's the thing. I was looking for it to be the subway specifically, and it's kind of not. Like, I was waiting for it to be like... I guess I'm
just misremembering then.
Yeah, no, like, because they do a little trick where each chapter title is the title of a subway stop.
Oh, fun.
Which I thought was very fun. And it's like the subway stop closest to wherever they are in that chapter. So, like, when it says Warren Street, they're at the hospital, because the Warren Street station is across the street from the hospital. Which is something that, like, I noticed because I used
You
to live there.
used to live there.
I
Yeah.
also lived across the street from the hospital, just a different way. And also, okay, I noticed this while I was reading it, and it's so cheesy and it's so stupid, and you would not notice it unless you were very aware of it. But the chapter titles are all an elaborate joke of the game Mornington Crescent. Have you ever heard of the game Mornington Crescent?
No, I have not heard of the game.
Okay, it's a stupid made-up game.
Okay, Molly, I just want to say I'm so glad that this is the book series that I picked for the first thing, because you are getting all these things that I didn't know because you lived in London. So I feel like I'm learning extra things about a book series I love from talking to you about it.
I'm very happy to teach you this really stupid game my friends taught me when I lived over there.
Yeah.
It's a game called Mornington Crescent, and it originally came off a radio show. Have I got news for you? Maybe. Anyway, it was originally from a radio show, and the idea was to come up with a game that didn't actually have rules, but sounded like it had very specific rules. So like people just pretended to play, and so you would just like have to mention different subway stop names, and like someone would be like, Warren Street. And someone go, oh, very good. Camden Town. Like it sounded like you were really coming up with things in your head, so that whoever didn't actually know this was a made up game, like, was very concerned that you were going by very official rules. Or like people would be like, no, we're not playing Tudor court rules. We're playing the other way. You can't do, like you'd make shit up like that. And the way you win is the last thing you say is you go, Mornington Crescent. And everyone goes, you won. And the last chapter is called Mornington Crescent. So the chapter titles are an elaborate, silly game of Mornington Crescent.
Good.
Which is so stupid, but when I realized that's what it was, it made me laugh really hard. So anyway, where were we? I was distracted by Mornington Crescent.
Abigail has a ghost.
Abigail has a ghost. They go and check it out. And then, like, each book basically has two kind of mysteries going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And the big mystery of this one is that a American art student, what is he, like early 20s probably, has been found dead in a subway station. He's been stabbed in the back and he came running out of the tunnels, which is very odd because, like,
why would he be down there?
Why would he be down there? But also, like, the London Underground, like, is pretty well documented. Like, people are down there every night. That's why they close the subway, so that they can clean it and get everything ready. So, like, it would be weird for something to happen down there and for people to not know about it.
Yeah.
And so it's a combination of them investigating that murder, and also they are still trying to find any connection to the faceless magician man, the faceless man,
the ethically challenged magician.
Such a good phrase.
Yeah.
They're still trying to find a connection to him. So they are investigating different people that were part of. I forgot that the dining club was called the Little Crocodiles.
Yeah.
And so at first when they're mentioned, we got to go investigate more little crocodiles, I was like, wait, what?
You're like, wait, did I miss something? Is this secretly there was alligators in the New York sewers?
It's been a month. I forgot what these crocodiles are. But yeah, just people that were in the dining club. So the main thing for that is that they find this old man who lives at the Barbican, and he has a mysterious Russian nurse. And they talk to him, and he clearly knows things, but they can't find any.
He also, he's in a wheelchair, and I thought there was some kind of health thing that made them think that
they think that he might have had strokes.
Yeah,
like
which is the thing that happens. Which is the thing that happens when you overuse magic. So
exactly,
that's like a hint that they're on the right track.
So even though they can't find anything, they also think that maybe they're just too, like, not magical enough yet to figure out what was actually going on. So they send Nightingale to go check it out.
Yes.
While they go continue their American student adventure.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to do that story really quick because like it's actually really short comparatively to the other story.
Mm-hmm.
So Nightingale goes, they're long gone, but there's a trap that's been left there. Nightingale not disarms the trap, like contains the explosion basically.
Yeah, it's the contained explosion. I think that's the exact term for it.
Yeah. But then
controlled
there's
explosion, controlled detonation. That's it.
There we go. That's what it is. But then he has Leslie and Peter come and like, because there's a second kind of tripwire if you detonate the first. So he has them come and see the second one. And I really enjoyed that there's Elvish, like Tolkien Elvish.
Yes, this is like one of my favorite jokes in the whole series.
And so Peter writes it down, and then he has the internet translate it, and it says, if you can read these words, then you are not only a nerd, but probably dead. Which is so good. I really like it. But then I also, because I had that in my head, later another character randomly quotes Lord of the Rings out of nowhere, and I was like, I'm suspicious of you now.
Which character quoted Lord of the Rings?
The other guy that is underground with him the whole time.
Oh, the
guy from TFL.
Okay, yeah.
Transport for London.
See, that's the thing is like that's a nerd reference. That's like it's a deep enough cut that it has to be the bad guy has to be a very big Lord of the Rings fan, but also Lord of the Rings is like a common enough thing that if someone does speak friend and enter or one of the other more like one of the things that's in the movie, it's like, well, that could just be someone who liked the movie.
I'm just gonna be suspicious of this guy for a while because he also was not weirded out when magic started happening. And even Peter's like, you're really calm for magic happening, and he's like, I've been in the tunnels a long time, it's weird down here. Which at first I was like, that's funny, but also you're very suspicious, my man. Anyway, so they go back, they find the detonated explosion, and then eventually Peter figures out that, and this is actually really clever, that when the Faceless Man moved headquarters, because they found him in the last book, he probably moved to where they're building the Crossrail, which is Crossrail was this project that was going on for years and years and years. I mean, it was the whole time I lived in London, it was just a giant construction site. But it's right in the middle of downtown, and it would be really easy to just put a little hiding space because it's a giant city block that's just blocked off from the public because they're doing construction.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, they go down there and they find the guy from the wheelchair dead, and that's it. That's the entirety of that storyline. Which I was like, I get that you can't give everything because clearly this is an ongoing storyline, but it felt like so little for it to be the secondary plot of the book. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't get at least a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still want to know who the Faceless Man is.
I thought that they revealed some stuff about the Russian nurse, but maybe that's a later book. Okay. Then.
She was suspicious, and that was about it.
Okay. Well, sorry for vaguely spoiling that.
You knew something was going to come with her because, like, there was a point where when they're trying to get into the house, they were like, "What's your last name? We'll look you up." And she's like, "Okay, come in." They're like, if she doesn't want to, if she'd rather have us come in and talk to that guy than give us her last name, there's something up with this girl.
Yeah.
But that was it, really, with her. And they found like a hidden needle in the house or something. But those were the only two things. So yeah, like I like that plotline. I want to know who this Faceless Man is, but I felt like it was just too little for that being our entire bit of the book about that plotline. Anyway, back to the big plotline of this book. Yeah. James Gallagher, the American who's killed. He's got a buddy named Zach, who lives with him, who crashes with him. Zach is kind of our main guy that leads us through the book. Yeah. Turns out Zach is half something.
He says fairy, but then they're like, he's a goblin, and it's kind of like...
And then ultimately he's like, it doesn't really matter what you say, like, all those...
It's all labels, together. Man. Like...
He is very much that kind of dude.
Yeah. We don't need labels, man.
And I like Zach. I kept waiting for him to like there's a bit where he hints that he's into, well, not more than hints, that he's into Leslie. And then he's like, I give you 6 weeks, man. If you don't make a move, I'm going to make a move on Leslie. And then he just never does anything again after that.
Because the case is wrapped up before 6 weeks goes up.
I realized that, but I was also like, that's the kind of thing that feels like you want to wrap it up in one book rather than have like 2 books later be like, oh, by the way, remember this guy? I don't know. I felt like that was a thing that should have stayed contained. But I don't know. That's just me. He eats a lot. I like that about him.
Yeah.
And then also they hint that he has a crush on someone underground. So I don't know. I felt weird about it. Anyway, so there's this mystery I felt like had a lot of cool ideas that it did nothing with.
I feel like since I have read the whole series,
yes,
I remember this book as, oh, this sets up this thing that happens in the next book or in a couple of books down. And that's why I don't remember who actually does the mystery, because I remember all the things that are cool in the next book.
Yeah. It's kind of a letdown for all the things that they have in it. Like, they bring in an FBI agent and then she doesn't really do much. I liked the idea that they had this FBI agent that they had to play around.
FBI agent, like, her being on Peter's case, and then they're like, well, how do we get her not to spill the beans? And the answer is to tell her everything. Like, I think that is, like, the entire conflict with her.
If you want to have an FBI agent and have the whole thing be like I like the ultimate resolution being, we're going to tell her everything and then she'll have to be on our side because otherwise she looks absolutely insane. Like, I liked that. But I felt like we didn't spend enough time with her before that to make it worth it.
Yeah.
She just kind of was following them around a lot and then would be like, I'm stressed out.
Yeah, this is a book that works a lot better when you're reading it, like, and then immediately reading the next book and then immediately reading the next book, like I frequently do with my audiobooks.
Yeah. It was just her being stressed and then she was gone. And I was like, give her something to actually do. I don't know. I felt like that was a wasted opportunity. And maybe she comes back in a later book. I don't know. But like, and don't tell me. But regardless, this book was wasted.
Yes. This book is like all set up, which is again why I don't remember who actually did the crime.
It's ultimately, it's kind of boring. Like, it's the setup's really good. Foreign student, son of a senator. They send an FBI agent to go and solve his murder. Like, that all sounds real cool. And then it has to do with, like, pottery and
magic pots.
And magic pottery, my mistake. And people living underground for a really long time. And 3 families that met 150 years ago. And now they're all mad at each other. And I feel like if we really honed in on one of those things, it could have been interesting. But by chucking it all in, it just was too muddled.
Yeah.
Like, you find out who the murderer is. It's this guy you talked to once before. And he was like, yeah, like, I was really jealous of my cousin. Oh yeah, he was my cousin. Did I mention he's my cousin? I was really jealous of him. Because he was better at me than pottery, and so I murdered. And I'm like, I first of all, this is only the second time you've ever been a character in this book, and I don't know, it just there was too much.
So like the stuff that I remember from this book is, if you can read this, not only are you a nerd, but you're probably dead.
Yes.
And then when Peter meets the Taiwanese lady in the art thing.
And she was clearly like a setup for a later thing.
Yeah. Well,
because she never comes back in that.
I really like Peter talking to her assistant, and he says that they're Chinese, and then she like says a bunch of, because her assistant is also her translator. And so Peter tells her, refers to them as Chinese, and then she like goes off on a rant. And then her assistant turns to him and is like, I don't really feel like telling you all about the political intricacies of Chinese versus Taiwanese, and like it's like nationality, so can you just nod your head agreeably like I'm explaining that to you.
Yeah. He's basically like, the point is that we're Taiwanese, and that's really all that really matters in this conversation.
Yeah, basically. And so I appreciate, because it says a lot about her character that he struck a nerve.
Yeah.
And then also says a lot about his character. And I feel like because of that interaction, they make a better impression than the kid who ultimately did it.
The kid who ultimately did it is in that same scene. That's the only other time we talked to him before we realized that he did it.
And that's why he fades into the background and no one remembers him, is because there are more interesting people right here.
And not even that, though, because like I had forgotten about them until you mentioned them right now.
Oh,
because they never come
I found that interaction really, really funny.
I really liked it too, but like then they never came back, so I had kind of forgotten it had happened. I realized that they will probably come back in a later book, because of otherwise why would you introduce them? But like there was just so many other things happening, and I had to pay attention if I was going to figure out what was happening. It's like he threw everything at the wall.
It's too much.
Yeah. And it's too much, and because it's too much, it's not interesting. You can't, like, there's large sections of the book where they're just walking through tunnels. And I feel like some of those parts worked really well. Like, there are parts where they're walking, then all of a sudden a guy shoots them with, like, a Tommy gun.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what?
And I also like when they went down in wetsuits and the FBI agent followed them, and she can't keep up, and it's because she doesn't have a wetsuit. I liked that it was like not because of, like, it's a practical reason, just like, well, they knew they were going to go down into the cold, and she didn't really prepare for that because she was so focused on following them.
No, I don't remember her following them. She followed them a different time. But that first time, she had gone down because she had thought that was Zach's alibi, was going through that other manhole. And so they ran into her down there because she was in a different part of the sewer. And that was the time she didn't have the wetsuit. Because she's like, how are you guys not cold? And they're like, we're wearing a wetsuit. And she says something like, well, I really couldn't like flag that off of like the foreign secretary's nanny now, could I? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how she got the car that she was using.
I sent you a picture of
I want to see.
Looking at the ghost.
Oh, very good. Okay, let me see. Gonna put it over thing. Maybe I am.
Yeah, like I agree with you that there's like too much going on, so all the stuff that I do remember is like stuff that is important later, or is just I thought it was funny. Like the if you can read this, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because ultimate,
I was gonna say, I guess I should try to kind of explain what happened, because I kind of just gave up. So there were 3 families that back in the 1850s-ish formed like not a company, but like a gang where they dug tunnels for the underground, for whatever. Some of them ended up staying underground and living there. One of them, a brother went to America and ended up getting the family that ended up spawning the American student that's the one that passed away. And then another one was in Ireland who spawned the artist who was ultimately the one who did it. And then the other one stayed in London. And ultimately it's just kind of like a family rivalry. I completely
missed that they're related to the underground people.
Yeah. They're related to the underground people because the guy that's down there is the original guy.
Oh, okay.
Because their names are Sun or whatever.
Okay, I thought they were just like underground fairy people.
No, they're the original people. Because the one member of the founding member of the group was like Matthew 10 Ton whatever, and the head of the guy down there is named 10 Ton. So it's like they are the gang that never left. And even later, because the head guy has a daughter who Zach has a crush on, but obviously they can never be together because Romeo and Juliet.
Well, also he's the sketchiest sketch in the world.
Also, well, I don't know. I feel a little sympathy for him. But she is engaged to another guy named Steven, but also she had a crush on the American guy, who they refer to as her cousin. But then, so basically they have a kiln down there that can make magic pots. You know, as you do. And both the American James and the Irish guy Ryan both went down to learn how to use the magic kiln. And the very first day they did it, they both were getting along great. Oh, look at us. We're cousins. We're bros. We're going to make these pots together. And then they put it in the kiln. And they brought him out, and James went first, and his pot was perfect, and it was great. And then they put Ryan's out, and he tried to like do the thing, and it cracked. And that drove him so crazy that he chased James down and murdered him.
And doesn't he give like a whole speech about the state of the Irish art scene? And
oh my God, yes, he does.
And yes, it's like, he does. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like,
it does. As someone who's lived in Ireland, I do see where this guy is coming from. It feels weird coming from a British author. Because it is very... No,
I understand, like, the colonialism aspect of it. It's more just, like, what does that have to do with him murdering the American?
Oh, him murdering the American has nothing to do with anything, it feels like. Yeah. It feels like that was incredibly tacked on at the end.
Yeah.
When this book was written, it was only, like, 4 years on from Ireland basically losing all of its money. There, like, when we had the 2008 crash, it hit Ireland like
way harder. So I knew
way
that.
Harder.
Yeah.
Like they were the.
It's more like I'm just wondering why it's in the book, not like why a character like him would say it. Like, much like his thing about the Irish art scene is like the equivalent to the Chinese lady ranting about Taiwan versus China. And so, like, maybe if he had done it when, like, we first met him, I would have taken it more in stride.
Yeah.
It's just... And
the only thing I could maybe get from that is, like, he is so frustrated with art in general that when the one thing that he had, which was that he was good at art, then his cousin was better at it than him. Like that, like clearly that was his breaking point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't spend any time with him, so yeah. I thought his character was really interesting, and I liked that rant because I like one thing that's always stuck with me is when I was living over there, we went to for one of our classes, we went to an what was it? It was an archive, but it was for like the Architecture Society of Ireland or something like that. It was all architecture documents. And when we were in the vault, they showed us like a stage build, like a little model they had built of a hospital they were going to build. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like they had like these special underground things, and then like they had a helipad, and then it was like the high-tech hospital of like your dreams. Like it was crazy cool. And we're like, well, where was this even going to be? Like, and they were like, oh, they made that in March 2008. And then, you know, there was no money to ever build this hospital. And seeing where they were versus like knowing where they were a year later, like anything with Ireland and money, I'm always going to think about that hospital that was so cool that they'll never have. So like that kind of stuff hits with me real good. And I
think I think I would have liked it more if it wasn't in the middle of, well, why'd you kill this guy?
Yeah. And all I can figure is like all his frustration was coming out at once. And also that's just also the fault of you never talked to him.
Yeah.
Like you never had your characters talk to this guy. So like clearly you want to say this thing.
Yeah.
But you never had a chance for them to have more than one or two conversations.
And it leaves him as like not very memorable except for that rant.
Well, and also like it leaves him as like this bitter Irish artist, which I don't like. I don't like that being the final blow to the coffin there for Ryan O'Connell or Ryan O'Connell. I don't remember which one it was. I wish I did. I just read about him yesterday. Like it's just he very much wants us to be into this story, but there's no way for us to be because while we were supposed to be getting the story, instead we were with Peter in the sewer for 50 pages. Not that parts of Peter in the sewer weren't good. I liked when he randomly ran into a underage club, which was very good. They find a club that two of the underage Rivers sisters are running, like in an old bunker, which is quite good. I guess we should also talk about the part where Peter is stuck underground for like 2 chapters.
And Lady Ty saves him.
But it's never really never really explained. So one of the they call them the quiet people. One of the underground people is trying to get away from. He's trying to catch him. The guy's trying to get away. He slaps the concrete with his fist or with his hand, and it like opens up, swallows Peter, and closes.
And he gets referred to as an earthbender.
He does get referred to.
I understood that reference. I got that
for
reference.
The rest of the book. But none of the other ones seem to ever have any really magic powers. Other than
I thought the pots, there was more like I didn't. This is why I thought they. Well, okay, so this is why I thought they were just fairies because I thought like.
Let's discuss about these weird underground people
because they explain like that. It's not just the kiln that's magic. It's they have to put something into the pots, like that is like.
Well, it's something like they have to sing a song in their minds while they make it.
Yeah, and so the guy who's angry and bitter, his pot breaking, I think is supposed to be a reflection of his anger and his bitterness. Because and that's also, like the magic emotion Yeah, because it's like that's the magic emotion that he put in the pot. So I thought like that's what they were trying to say. Like that's why I thought they were fairies because it was like there's more than just the kiln that's magic. They're doing something with the pots that's magical while they're making them, and that's why it connects to him being an earthbender.
Okay. I took that a different. Well, yeah. agree and disagree. I also thought there's something magic in them because also they've been alive for a very long time.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
the other reason why I was like, so they're fairies.
But they started off as people. As far as we know, they started off as people.
I think I missed the they started off as people bit. Because I was busy going, magic pots, and like, he's an earthbender.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, like, because I caught on that they started off as people. They've just been underground a really long time. And, like, I get that they're, like, singing songs into the pots, and that's obviously some sort of magic something. I didn't get that Ryan's anger went into the pot. I thought his anger only came after it didn't go well. Because it seemed like he was having a final time before.
I meant, like, his anger about, like, the art scene in general, to connect it to his rant about Ireland.
Are you saying he had an impure heart?
Yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I feel like him snapping and becoming a murderer backs me up.
I mean, he did murder someone very soon after.
Quick question, because you pay more attention to character descriptions than I do. Does Leslie have her hair out while she has her mask on, or...
It seems like it depends. Sometimes she does and sometimes she doesn't.
Okay, well, I'm going to give her hair because that makes the silhouette more interesting.
Are you drawing Leslie?
Yes.
I love Leslie. She's my favorite, I think. Leslie has taken to wearing a mask in this book, which is never really described. In my head, it's kind of like a full Phantom of the Opera thing.
Yeah. Because she took it off fairly easy, and I feel like... Because that's how she distracts the guy in the wheelchair. She takes her mask off.
Flaw!
And so I feel like it must be something like... you'll see what I'm drawing now. You'll see what I'm drawing fairly shortly. Yeah. I feel like it must be easy to take off and on. I just don't know if she has, like, how much hair she has left. Because I'm like, I feel like...
Hair grows pretty fast.
But it's also... It didn't really affect her hair that much. Yeah. Because it was all her face, not her entire skull.
And it's been, what, like, almost a year at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I also like how pretty much everyone magic is completely unfazed by her face. They're just like, you can take your mask off. It's fine.
What did you think about I forget the goblin kid's name. Zach. What did you think about Zach saying that there's, like, different types of magical people?
What about that? He did say that, didn't he?
Yeah, he said that there's people who are born magical, like him, because he's part fairy and or goblin. And then he says, and there's people who make the choice to become magic.
Who, like learn it.
Peter. Yeah. And then he's like, actually, wait, there's 3 types. And then the third type is someone who is made magical, like Leslie, kind of
has magic thrust upon them, as one might say.
So basically her getting possessed by the...
Mr. Punch.
Mr. Punch made her have magical abilities.
Yes.
I sent you my Leslie pick.
I'm excited. Oh, she's so mysterious. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. It is also a parody of a Shakespeare quote.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we have an example of each one basically. Well, that's not true. Do we have anyone in our main group who is born magical? Maybe Molly.
Yeah. Molly is born magical.
But and I like that we find out that magical people call people who are learning magic Isaacs. I like that a lot. After Isaac Newton.
Yeah. I think the reason why I remember the Taiwanese lady in the grand scheme of things, is because they keep it started last book, and now they sort of like continuously keep hitting on it. And I guess it's a slight spoiler to say that they will continue to hit on it, is Nightingale is ignoring magic that is not from the Isaac Newton background. And so like Nightingale being all like, yes, there's no wizards, and then here's a lady from Taiwan who's just teaching a guy.
Yeah. Well, and doesn't he say like, oh, it's probably Taoist or something like that?
Yeah.
Like he has a vague idea of what it is.
But it's kind of like he has a vague idea, but he's also a little bit I interpret it as a little bit dismissive. Like
But hey, different strokes for different folks. So like in my head, Nightingale is still super hard PTSD from World War II.
Yeah.
And so of course he hasn't focused on anything else. He hasn't focused on anything else since Peter kind of showed up. So like it doesn't surprise me that he hasn't investigated anything, because he hasn't investigated anything.
Right. And I'm not saying that that's like bad on him. It's more just like he has a narrow focus and a narrow worldview, and while he is expanding it because of working with Peter, it doesn't. It's things that he tells Peter are still limited by that.
Fair. Because, like, didn't he say, like, he thought that all of the Chinese wizards had been killed by Mao. And that's why when he was like, she's Taiwanese, he's like, oh, that makes sense. Which also interesting to think that, like, the Cultural Revolution also killed magic. Like, Cultural Revolution killed a lot of stuff. Does not shock me that also magic would be on the chopping block there. But I like those little, like, tastes of things that might have happened in the past. And, you know, maybe if we got that instead of, you know, cousins that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I wanted to like this one so much more because I love the Underground, and like I used to have the tube map memorized because I just used it so much. And then I was like, aw, didn't really have what I wanted. But that's my own fault too. You know, you put your own things into stuff.
Yeah, I remember on Writing Excuses, Mary Robinette Kowald, who's one of the hosts, said that she doesn't read any reviews on Goodreads that are 3 stars and below because that person wanted a different book.
Fair. That's fair.
And I feel like that's a thing that I try to be aware of when I think about why I don't like a thing. Do I actually dislike it, or is it just like I was hyped for what I thought it was going to be, and then, oh, it's not that thing, and then I'm just thinking about how I wish it was that thing the whole time I'm reading it.
I feel like this one kept teasing me because it kept having tube titles as the names of chapters, and I'm like, yeah. And then it would be like, but also, what about this sad family from 1865? And I'm like, no. But one completely random thing, which I don't know how I've missed this in my life. It was a random fact about stabbings, which let me find. It was basically like why you always look for here it is, and you probably know this. I should have known this. I know enough watch a lot of true crime documentaries to have known this, but I don't for some reason. It says an attached note from Seawald told us to check for hand injuries when taking statements. It takes more force than you think to stab someone to death, and the human body is full of pesky obstructions, like ribs, for example. Inexperienced knife fighters frequently cut themselves on their own blades. With the momentum of their thrust drives their own hand down onto the knife. That's why they had the crossguard. Which, like, I knew there was a reason they had a crossguard, but I didn't realize that it was, like, the force of you stabbing, like, pulls your hand down, too.
Yeah.
Like, that was really interesting to me. I did not know that. Like, I knew there was a reason you could hurt yourself, but I didn't realize, like, that was the reason, I guess.
Yeah, and since he stabbed him with pottery, then he would definitely have a cut hand.
Which he covered by wearing fingerless gloves, like a hipster.
Yep. Listen, in art school in winter, he blended right in.
I'm sure he did. And he was at the Tate Modern, the fucking Tate Modern. Oh my god, that place. So pretentious.
So, I'm bringing it up because Abigail's my favorite.
Go for it.
I like that it starts the book with Abigail's little ghost. Mm-hmm. And then it ends with Abigail is arrested for being in the subway. And when Peter asks her about it, she was trying to finish his graffiti, hoping that he could pass on. And I'm like, that's super sweet.
It is very sweet.
Yeah.
And I like that Peter decides that he's like, okay, you keep an eye, and then every Saturday you come tell me what we found. And when he tells it to Nightingale, Nightingale's like, we're not turning into scouts, are we?
Yeah.
Like, I totally get, like, no, it's a great idea. Like, make her be a part of it so then she won't go off on her own and then you can take care of it, blah, blah, blah. But I just like Nightingale being like, I'm not starting up the Girl Guides.
And then, but no. And Abigail is like, do I get badges? Because she also was like, it sounds like Girl Scouts.
It's so good. It's so good. I love the idea of paranormal Girl Scouts so much. I wish it was real.
Abigail, that's who I wish the series was about. Abigail.
I really like Peter. He's still kind of a jerk. He's still kind of a gross sometimes. Oh, okay. Varlet just pointed out that crossguards on swords are also to stop an adversary sword from sliding all the way down your blade and getting you. Yeah. So I think that's what I knew. I didn't know that it also was to protect your own hand from going down your own sword.
Well, so that's why they're bigger on swords and smaller on knives.
Makes sense. So we're both right. We both knew different versions of the same fact. But yeah, that's very interesting. I thought that was a fun fact that I learned in that book. I'm excited for, okay, I'm going to say what I'm excited for the next book. I'm excited for more Leslie. I like Leslie a lot. She is my favorite. I like every scene with her in it. I feel like the first book had the best mystery and the next two have kind of been letting me down a little bit. So I want another good mystery.
I will let you know that the fourth book
You don't sound too thrilled for me.
No. The fourth book is the most about the Faceless Man.
Oh, good. Okay, that is who I want to know about. They gave me so much in book 2 and then nothing in this book. Because
they start with a mystery that turns out the Faceless Man is directly involved in.
It's what I want. Good. I'm excited.
And I understand why you want them to hurry up and get the Faceless Man or, like, fight him some more. But I kind of liked that he is trying to generally stay away from them.
I get that. I think what would make me cooler with how little Faceless Man there is if he had been in the first book. Because if he had been in the first book and he was just this small adversary that they were slowly working up to in every book, then I would have been like, yeah, okay, I get how this is pacing. But by not having him till the second book and then having a big scene with him in the second book, I was like, okay, let's go. And then they're like, but what if we just took and gave you nothing in book 3?
And I feel like, though, like, they found out that guy in the wheelchair was the Faceless Man's teacher, I thought.
They found he was connected to him somehow.
I thought
that's what they kind of think, but it hasn't been explicitly decided.
Okay, because it's supposed to be like each book you get one piece of the Faceless Man mystery, and so that's supposed to be like the piece that this old guy that he blew up with his Lord of the Rings reference is like, that's a big clue of who he is.
I guess I just got like, okay, he's connected to that guy. The end. You know, like, I don't know. It just wasn't a big enough
when
partial.
we finally find out who he is, I feel like the show is going to be like double the length because I can talk to you about all these themes that are like being seeded and then finally get revealed when the Faceless Man gets to do his why he does what he does motivation monologue.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I feel like the first book had a really good mystery.
Yeah,
really down
first
for
book definitely has the best mystery.
And then every book after that, the mystery hasn't been as good. The second one just, the mystery was okay, but the way Peter handled it drove me crazy. And then
it's also
the third book,
like,
the mystery's just not great.
And I think also the reason why I don't remember who did it until like you mentioned him is because like when he finally goes and talks to the quiet people, it's because they might be eating contaminated food.
Yeah, they might be getting E. coli.
And that's like such a random thing. Like if they know that they're down there, I feel like he should have tried to talk to them peacefully earlier.
Well, so the timing was, because this all happens in the span of a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing was that it was Christmas Eve when they found out that people lived down there. And they were like, okay, we'll do it after Christmas because everyone's going home for Christmas.
Yes.
We don't have the police staff. But then he realized, oh crap, they're going to eat contaminated food. We got to go right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the timing made sense for that.
I just meant in the course of the book. Like you're saying we should have talked to the artist more. I also think we should have talked to the quiet people a little bit earlier. Like,
well, he talked to them almost immediately after he found out they existed.
I just feel like a lot of stuff was dropped on us at the end, and that's partly because there was too much going on in the book.
For sure. And also, every other book has taken place over a series of months, and this all took place in a week.
Yeah.
And so I guess you gotta space your stuff out more, Ben. Ben Aaronovitch. You're bad when you're down to a week, my bud. Like I get to like you wanted to have the ticking clock, but also I didn't realize it was all happening in a week until halfway through the book when I'm like, wait, why does this say Thursday? It took me a while to put that together. Which I guess is on me.
And I think that's why it also wasn't like super investigated like the other stuff, is because the other stuff, like, there was a long time for him fiddling around trying to find Mr. Punch.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that took place over like 3 months or something like that.
And I forget how long he was looking into Vampire Lady.
That was a couple of months too, I think.
Yeah. So it's just like having it be over the course of a couple of months means that they get to interview people and have longer conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if it was taking place over a month, he could have circled back to the angry art student who doesn't have a pure heart.
He's an artist himself, my friend. He has a show at the Tate Modern.
I'm just gonna call him like his heart's impure now. He doesn't have a. He doesn't
have a pure heart.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon villains would have nothing to do with him.
Yeah. No, because the Sailor Moon villains, they're looking for the pure hearts. And then you turn into a monster when you don't have one.
Life is hard.
So they would turn him into a monster.
And they kind of did, didn't they? That's the moral of Whispers Underground.
But yeah, the fourth book being a big faceless man plot.
I'm looking forward to that. That makes me happy.
Partly why I was like, because we're gonna break up the series. We're not gonna go all the way through.
We're gonna take a break and read something else, and then we'll come back.
So I thought, like, okay, going to book 4. There's 8 books in the series right now. 4 is the halfway point, but also 4 ends with a big oomph, big deal thing.
Okay. I'm ready.
To the point where it might make you mad that we are taking a break.
Oh, no. Well, maybe we'll examine that at a later date.
Yeah.
But until then, that was oh, wrong button. That was Whispers Underground. And what are we reading next week? Or in 2 weeks, rather?
The One by Kira Cass.
The finale.
Also, we've looked at the Japanese covers for all
that's
of
true.
the other...
I know I was forgetting something. Let me bring it up. Because I did look it up already. Because I wanted to know after I finished Whispers Underground, and it is not who I thought it would be. That's not what it... Sure, okay. We'll show the Pinterest version. Sorry, the one, you're going away for a second. It is... Oh, come on. There it is.
Oh, that's right. It's the One, not the Elite.
Here, I'm sending you the thing in our Discord chat so you can see. It's the wheelchair guy and his lovely nurse associate, I guess.
Yes.
I like that she looks like she's holding a glow stick. Like they look like they're at the corner of a rave. Yeah. Like they're just sitting in the corner overseeing the rave. It's like, I read it. I remember finishing the book and then looking it up and being like, wait, they're the cover? They're barely in the book. I was waiting. I wanted it to be like the underground people.
And that makes me think we weren't sure who the person in the second book cover was. And it makes me think that is them trying to draw the Faceless Man.
People connected to Faceless Man?
Yeah, because they even changed the title to The Wizard Without a Face, you said.
That they did. Let me look that one up again. What was it called? Moon
Over Soho.
Moon Over Soho. I want to see the Japanese cover, please. There it is. Yeah, Kao no Nai Maho. Yeah, it is the Magician Without a Face is what it's called. So yeah, I guess it is this hot young howl looking motherfucker over here. Man.
Which, that's wild if that's what they think the Faceless Man looks like.
It is kind of funny, isn't it, though? And it is funny that all the other titles just are a translation of Moon Over Soho, and Japan's just like, the man without a face. Oh, Japan.
Ethically challenged magician.
Japan's with me. They're like, this was the more interesting thing. This is what I want to know about.
They want to focus on the cat girls.
It's Japan. They gotta do what they gotta do. Okay. Seriousness, though. We are gonna read, what's it called? The One.
The One.
That'll be Kelb will be reading that.
Yep. I just got it, I had it on hold, and they just notified me today that it's off hold, so...
Sweet. Perfect timing.
I will pull myself away from A Song of Ice and Fire and go listen to that.
And, so that'll be not this week, but in 2 weeks. So it'll be on August 30th at 7. If you're reading along, you've got 2 weeks to read.
You know what we haven't discussed yet? Were there any all cops are bad moments in this book?
There were, but I wasn't as diligent of writing them down.
Okay.
But there definitely was a bit where like right at the end where they're interviewing Ryan and he's like, okay, I've got to get him to confess before his lawyer gets here. And I'm like, oh, buddy. But yeah, there were, but I wasn't as, I was reading it in bed because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And I was bad about having my sticky notes with me. So I'll be better next time. But
ACAB.
ACAB forever.
Yeah. All cops are bad.
Also, it was weird that when the FBI agent left, she kissed Peter on the cheek. I was like, really? Come on.
Oh, another thing that I liked.
Yes.
Or have mixed feelings. It's I don't like the first part of it, but I liked Peter's response to it.
Okay.
Is when he interviews the American senator.
Yes.
And the American senator.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Says the N-word.
He said, would you be more offended if I called you the N-word or a limey?
Except he actually says the N-word.
Except he actually says
the N-word. And I liked Peter's response of, well, if you called me the N-word, I would just dismiss you as a racist American, and limey is a joke insult, so you don't know me enough to really insult me. I thought that was a good, like, turn of phrase, which is why it was a thing that stuck in my memory, was the you don't know me enough to actually insult me.
Yeah. No, that was, again, a case of this was the only time they ever talked to the senator, and...
Yeah, it's kind of like they maybe, because, so the thing is like, I understand why they didn't go talk to the senator, because there's political, like, implications to that. And also, the senator was in the U.S. when the kid died, so they know he didn't do it, and he probably hasn't, like, interacted with the person who did do it. So...
basically to ask if his son was a disappointment.
Yeah.
Which was really sad. And also that if he had access to money in a different way.
Yeah.
So, like, there were reasons to talk to him, but it just, I don't know. I was like, that is a good part, but I also was like, it really sucks that, like, the only time we talk to this grieving father is this moment. Like that.
Yeah, and it's, I feel like that is the case with a lot of the characters. Except for Zach. Zach's fucking everywhere.
Zach is everywhere. You can't turn around and not hit Zach.
Zach does come back.
I figured as much. They definitely hint at it, so. Oh, well.
He's in the book so much. Like,
he's in the book so much. Okay. Well.
All right.
Let's call it at that with our sadness about Zach coming back. Kel, when we're not live, where can we find you?
You can find all of my stuff at kelmcdonald.com. I'm also on Twitch as kelmcdonald, and I'm on Twitter as kelhound, which is spelled like hellhound, but with a K.
Which is how I think every time I type it in. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter and everywhere as Passing Fair. I stream a lot, so hang out with me.
The reason why I say that it's spelled like hellhound but with a K is because since I use one L in my name.
No, I get it. That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
I hear you saying that in my head as I type it.
Yeah, it's just so people know how to type it.
That's like, this is completely off topic, but I had a teacher in school whose name was Mr. Shawl, and it was spelled like school, but with A's instead of O's. And so he would always say that, and we're like, that's a really handy way to remember it. And he goes, yeah, that's how I remember it sometimes.
Varlet is in the chat saying Zach Street's back.
Oh, but we will not be saying all right. It'll be like, no.
I'm indifferent to Zach.
He's okay.
There.
He's also extremely like toxic masculinity, kind of a little bit, and it annoys me.
That's why I was like, he's the sleaziest sleaze and sleaze.
Like, you know, deep down he's not like that, but that's the way he talks, and I don't like it. Anyway. If you need to catch up, we've got YouTube archived links that Kel's been putting up.
Yes, they're on my YouTube, which is just Kel McDonald on YouTube. I have made a handy playlist, so you can just go through them in order. That will go up on Monday. I mean, like next Monday.
Next Monday.
Yep.
And that's all. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Later.
Good night.